I stood in our tiny apartment bathroom at 3 in the morning, scrubbing dried ketchup off my uniform. My hands smelled like bleach and French fries. 5 years of this. 5 years of double shifts and aching feet. 5 years of sacrificing everything so Damon could become a doctor. But what I didn't know that morning was that in exactly 8 hours, my husband would stand on a graduation stage and destroy me in front of everyone I knew. Those weren't going to be tears of gratitude in his eyes. They were going to be tears of relief. Because Damon Clark had been planning to throw me away like trash the moment he got that medical degree in his hands. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. Let me take you back to where this whole nightmare started. 7 years ago, I met Damon at my cousin's barbecue in South Atlanta. He was charming, ambitious. He told me about his dream of becoming a surgeon, how he wanted to give back to the community. I was working as a medical billing clerk at the time, making decent money, living a simple life. Damon made me believe in something bigger. He made me believe in us. We got married 6 months later. Small wedding at Ebenezer Baptist Church. My mama made the potato salad. His mother, Vivian, barely showed up. She arrived late, wearing all white like she was at a funeral. She looked at our modest reception in the church basement like someone had asked her to eat off the floor. I should have seen the warning signs then. But I was in love. And love makes you blind to red flags the size of billboards. 2 years into our marriage, Damon got accepted into medical school. We celebrated at Busy Bee Cafe, splitting a plate of fried chicken and mac and cheese because that's all we could afford. He held my hands across that table and made me promises. "Baby, once I'm a doctor, we're set for life," he said. "Everything you do for me now, I'm gonna pay back 10 times over. We're a team, Shanice. Forever." I believed him. God help me, I believed every word. Medical school was expensive. Even with loans, we needed more money for books, supplies, living expenses. Damon couldn't work because of his class schedule, so I became the provider. I picked up a second job waitressing at a soul food restaurant in downtown Atlanta. Then a third job on weekends doing hair in my best friend Kendra's salon. I was working 70 hours a week, sometimes more. I kept a notebook. Every single expense, I wrote it down. Rent, groceries, his textbooks that cost $300 each, his white coats, his stethoscope, gas money so he could drive to clinical rotations. I wasn't trying to keep score. I just wanted to track our sacrifice together. I thought we were building something. I thought we were building us. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was how Damon started changing. Slowly at first. He stopped saying thank you when I handed him money for lunch. He started complaining about our apartment, calling it beneath him. He'd come home from his fancy medical school talking about his classmates' families, their vacation homes, their connections. And he'd look at me in my waitress uniform like I embarrassed him. His mother started visiting more often during his 3rd year. Vivian Clark, with her designer handbags and her judgmental eyes. She'd sit in our living room sipping tea I couldn't afford, talking about appropriate wives for physicians. She never said my name. She'd just look past me like I was furniture. "Damon, dear," she'd say, "when you finish your residency, you'll need to join the right country club. Network with the right families. A surgeon's wife needs to be able to host dinner parties, understand medical politics." Then she'd pause. Look at me. Not everyone has that kind of refinement. I bit my tongue. I served her tea. I smiled while she insulted me in my own home. Because I loved Damon. Because I thought once he graduated, once the stress was over, we'd get back to who we used to be. I was so wrong. Year 4, Damon barely spoke to me. He'd come home, eat the dinner I cooked, and lock himself in our bedroom. The only time he acknowledged me was when he needed money. "Shanice, I need $400 for a study course." "Shanice, I need $600 for conference fees." I gave him everything. I cashed out my small savings account. I sold my grandmother's pearl necklace, the only valuable thing I owned. Kendra tried to warn me. We were closing up the salon one Saturday night, and she grabbed my arm. "Sis, I love you, but you need to wake up," she said. "That man is using you. I see how he treats you. Like you're his maid, not his wife." "You don't understand," I told her. "Medical school is stressful. Once he graduates, nothing changes." Kendra cut me off. "A man who doesn't respect you now won't respect you later. Education doesn't fix character." I didn't listen. I should have. But I was too deep in. I'd invested 5 years. I'd invested everything I had. I couldn't let it be for nothing. The graduation ceremony was on a Saturday in May. I'd worked the night shift at the restaurant the night before, got home at 2 in the morning, and still woke up at 6 to press Damon's suit. I bought a new dress for the occasion. Nothing fancy, just something clean and pretty from the clearance rack at Macy's. I wanted to look nice for his big day. We drove to the venue in silence. Damon stared out the window the whole time. I kept trying to make conversation, but he just grunted responses. I told myself he was nervous, emotional. This was a huge milestone. When we arrived, his mother was already there. She'd saved seats in the front row, but only 2. One for her, one for Damon's younger brother, who I barely knew. There was no seat for me. I had to sit in the back, squeezed between strangers, watching my husband graduate from a program I'd sacrificed everything to help him complete. After the ceremony, there was a reception. I tried to find Damon in the crowd. I wanted to hug him, congratulate him, take a picture together. But he was surrounded by his classmates and their families. His mother had her arm linked through his, introducing him to people, showing him off like a prize. I finally reached him after 20 minutes of pushing through the crowd. "Damon," I said, smiling. "Congratulations, baby. I'm so proud of you." He looked at me, really looked at me, and his eyes were cold, empty, like he was looking at a stranger. "Shanice," he said flatly, "we need to talk. Outside." My stomach dropped. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I followed him out to the parking lot. His mother came too, her heels clicking against the pavement like a countdown. They stood in front of me, blocking the sun. Damon crossed his arms. Vivian smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "Shanice," Damon said, his voice formal, rehearsed. "I want a divorce." The world tilted. I couldn't breathe. "What?" "You heard him," Vivian said, her voice sharp as broken glass. "My son is a doctor now. He needs a wife who matches his station. Someone educated, refined. Someone who can help his career, not hold it back." I looked at Damon, waiting for him to tell his mother she was crazy, waiting for him to defend me. But he just stood there, nodding along. "I've already spoken to an attorney," he continued. "We'll split everything 50-50. You'll get half the car, half the furniture. That's fair." Fair. That word snapped something inside me. "Fair?" I repeated, my voice shaking. "Fair? I worked 3 jobs for 5 years. I paid for everything. Your rent, your food, your textbooks, your gas. Everything. And now you want to split our nothing 50-50 and walk away?" "I took out student loans," Damon said defensively. "That's my debt to carry." "Student loans that didn't cover half of what you needed," I shot back. "I have receipts, Damon. I have every receipt." Vivian laughed. Actually laughed. "Receipts? Are you planning to send him a bill? How low class? This is exactly why you're not suitable." Something cold and clear settled over me. I looked at my husband. This man I'd loved. This man I'd sacrificed everything for. And I saw him clearly for the first time. He wasn't the man I married. Maybe he never was. "Okay," I said quietly. "You want a divorce? Fine. But I want every penny I spent on you. Every single penny. With interest. Damon's face went pale. You can't be serious. I'm dead serious, I said. I kept records. 5 years of records. Rent, food, books, supplies, everything. You want your freedom? You're going to pay for it. I walked away from them standing in that parking lot. I didn't cry. Not yet. I got in our car, the car I'd been making payments on, and I drove to Kendra's house. When she opened the door and saw my face, she didn't ask questions. She just pulled me inside and held me while I finally broke down. But that breakdown only lasted one night. Because the next morning, I woke up with a new purpose. Damon Clark wanted to throw me away? He was about to learn the most expensive lesson of his life. I pulled out my notebook. 5 years of receipts. 5 years of sacrifice. And I started making a list. It was time to collect. Monday morning, I walked into the law office of Isaiah Bennett. Kendra had recommended him. Best attorney in Atlanta for holding people accountable, she'd said. Isaiah was a tall man with gray at his temples and sharp eyes that missed nothing. I sat across from his desk and slid my notebook toward him. 5 years of receipts, bank statements, credit card bills, everything. He opened it, started reading. His eyebrows went up. He flipped through page after page. Finally, he looked at me and whistled low. Mrs. Clark, do you know what you have here? Evidence, I said simply. You have a case, he corrected. A strong one. Marital contracts, financial support agreements. Georgia law is very clear about this. If you can prove you provided extraordinary financial support with the understanding it would be reciprocated, you can pursue compensation. My heart started pounding. How much are we talking about? Isaiah pulled out a calculator. He started adding. His fingers moved fast across the keys. When he turned the calculator toward me, I nearly fell out of my chair. $87,432, he said. That's rent, food, transportation, medical expenses, textbooks, supplies, and miscellaneous costs. I'm being conservative. If we add interest and calculate fair market value for your labor, we could push this over $120,000. I couldn't breathe. I'd known I'd spent a lot. But seeing the number, the actual number, made it real. I'd given this man over $80,000. And he'd thanked me by asking for a divorce in a parking lot. Can we make him pay? I asked. Isaiah smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of a man who enjoyed his job. Oh, we can make him pay. But here's what I recommend. We don't just sue him. We make him sign a settlement agreement, a debt agreement. He wants a clean divorce? He gets it. But he acknowledges this debt in writing, and we structure a payment plan he can't escape. What if he refuses to sign? Then we go to court, make it public, put his mother on the stand. Let everyone see what kind of man he really is. Trust me, Mrs. Clark, he'll sign. Men like him care about reputation more than anything. We spent the next 3 days building the case. Isaiah was thorough. He didn't just use my notebook. He pulled bank records, subpoenaed credit card statements, got affidavits from my employers confirming my work hours. He built a timeline that showed exactly how much I'd sacrificed while Damon lived off my labor. Then Isaiah drafted the agreement. It was beautiful, legal and brutal. The document stated that Damon acknowledged receiving $87,432 in financial support from me during his medical education. It stated that this support was given with the understanding of future reciprocation within the marriage. It stated that by initiating divorce proceedings, he was breaching that understanding and therefore owed full repayment. But here's what made it genius. The payment terms. Isaiah structured it so Damon would pay me $2,000 a month for 4 years. We could demand a lump sum, Isaiah explained, but this is better. This way he feels it, every single month, for years. Plus, if he misses a payment, we can garnish his wages, put liens on his property, destroy his credit. He'll be trapped. We sent the agreement to Damon with a simple cover letter. Sign this and get your clean divorce. Or refuse and we go to court. Your choice. He called me 2 days later. His voice was different. Panicked. Shanice, are you insane? $87,000? I don't have that kind of money. I'm starting a residency. I barely make anything. You should have thought of that before you humiliated me, I said calmly. This is extortion. No, Damon. This is accounting. You owe me. Every penny is documented. Sign the agreement or explain to a judge why you think your education was worth more than my sacrifice. My mother. Your mother what? I cut him off. Your mother thinks I'm low class? Tell her to write you a check. I'm sure she has the money, since she's so refined. Silence on the other end. Then I heard something that made me smile. I heard him cry. Not sad crying, frustrated crying. The kind of crying a child does when they don't get their way. I'll sign, he finally said. But you're going to regret this, Shanice. You're going to regret crossing me. Too late, I said. I already regret marrying you. I hung up. What I didn't tell Damon was that I had bigger plans, much bigger plans. Because I wasn't just collecting a debt. I was building something new. Something that would change everything. The day Damon signed the agreement, I met with Nia Thompson. Nia was a grant writer I'd met through Kendra. Smart woman, had a master's degree in nonprofit management. We met at a coffee shop in Midtown, and I laid out my vision. I want to start a foundation, I told her. A foundation that helps people in underserved communities access healthcare, education, resources. I want to do real good, change real lives. Nia leaned forward. That's beautiful. But foundations need funding, startup capital. Do you have that? I smiled. I'm about to. And every month for the next 4 years I'm getting $2,000 more. Nia's eyes lit up. Girl, I love the energy. But you know what? I think we can do more than just use your settlement. Let me help you write grants, apply for corporate sponsorships, build partnerships. We can turn your seed money into something huge. And that's exactly what we did. Within 6 months, the Williams Foundation for Community Health was born. We secured grants. We partnered with hospitals and universities. We created scholarship programs and mobile health clinics. The foundation grew fast, real fast. And my name started appearing in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Local news interviewed me. I became known as a philanthropist, a community leader. Meanwhile, Damon's life was falling apart. I heard things through mutual acquaintances. He'd started his surgical residency at a prestigious hospital, but the $2,000 monthly payments were crushing him. He'd taken out more loans to maintain appearances, bought a fancy condo he couldn't afford, leased a BMW to impress his colleagues. Started dating Celeste Monroe, a pharmaceutical sales rep with expensive taste. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was that Damon couldn't handle the pressure. He wanted to live like a successful surgeon, but he was still just a resident making resident salary. The debt payments ate into his income. He started borrowing money from his mother. Vivian, who'd been so proud of her doctor son, was now bankrolling his lifestyle because he was hemorrhaging cash. I saw him once, about a year after the divorce. I was at a medical fundraising gala for the foundation. I wore a designer dress, had my hair done professionally, looked confident and powerful. I was networking with hospital executives and major donors. And then I saw him across the room. Damon looked tired. His suit was nice, but not as nice as it should be for a man trying to project success. He was with Celeste, who looked bored and kept checking her phone. When his eyes met mine, I saw something flicker across his face. Regret? Anger? Fear? I smiled at him. A real smile. The kind of smile that says, I'm thriving, and you're drowning. Then I turned back to my conversation with a hospital CEO who was discussing $1 million grant for our mobile clinic program. That was the last time I saw Damon Clark as the man he used to be. Because 3 months later, everything changed. I was in my office at the foundation, reviewing applications for our scholarship program, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Shanice? The voice was broken, desperate. I barely recognized it. Damon? I need your help. He was crying. Actually crying. Something's wrong with me. Really wrong. The doctors, they ran tests. I have a disease, an autoimmune disease. It's attacking my nervous system. My hands shake. I'm losing vision in my left eye. They say I won't be able to operate. They say my career is over. My stomach clenched. Despite everything, hearing real fear in his voice affected me. Damon, I'm sorry, but I don't understand why you're calling me. There's a treatment, an experimental surgery. It could save my career. But it costs $3 million. Insurance won't cover it. I've reached out to every organization, every grant program. No one will help me. No one except... His voice broke completely. Your foundation. The Williams Foundation has connections with medical research programs. You have funding partnerships. You're my only chance, Shanice. Please, I know I don't deserve your help, but I'm begging you. I sat there holding the phone and felt the universe deliver the most perfect justice I could have ever imagined. Damon Clark, the man who threw me away because I wasn't good enough for him, was now begging me to save his life. I didn't answer Damon right away. I let him sit in that silence, that desperate silence where he didn't know if I'd help him or hang up. $3 million. His career, his life. All of it depending on the woman he'd thrown away like garbage. The irony was so perfect it almost hurt. I'll look into it, I finally said. But I'm not promising anything. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you, Shanice. I knew you'd... I hung up before he could finish. I wasn't doing this for him. Not yet. I was doing this because I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I needed to understand the full picture before I made any decisions. I called an emergency board meeting for the foundation. Nia was there, along with Jamal Harris, one of our board members who'd been skeptical about my leadership from the start. I laid out the situation, Damon's disease, the experimental treatment, the astronomical cost. Absolutely not, Jamal said immediately. We can't use foundation funds for personal vendettas. It's not a vendetta, I said calmly. It's a case that fits our mission. Medical treatment for someone who can't afford it. He's a doctor, Jamal argued. He has resources. This isn't what we do. But Nia was looking at me differently. She'd seen that look in my eyes before. What are you thinking, Shanice? I leaned back in my chair. I'm thinking that we have partnerships with 3 major research hospitals. I'm thinking that we could potentially negotiate the cost down and structure this as a case study. But more importantly, I'm thinking about conditions. Conditions? Jamal asked. If the foundation pays for this treatment, Damon Clark doesn't get to walk away and continue his comfortable life. There has to be a return, a significant return. Over the next 2 weeks, I did my research. I contacted the medical team handling experimental autoimmune treatments. The surgery was real, cutting edge, dangerous, but possible. Without it, Damon would progressively lose motor function and vision. His career as a surgeon was already over. But with the treatment, he could potentially recover enough function to practice general medicine. I also hired a private investigator. I wanted to know everything about Damon's current situation. What I discovered was even better than I'd imagined. Damon was broke, completely broke. The monthly payments to me had destroyed his finances. He'd borrowed over $60,000 from his mother to maintain his lifestyle. He'd taken out personal loans, maxed out credit cards. His girlfriend Celeste had left him the moment his disease was diagnosed. His fancy condo was in pre-foreclosure. His BMW had been repossessed. The man who'd thrown me away because I wasn't good enough was now drowning in debt and desperation. But that wasn't even the most interesting part. My investigator discovered something else. Something that changed everything I thought I knew about the divorce. Vivian Clark, Damon's elitist mother, wasn't as wealthy as she pretended to be. Her late husband had left her in significant debt. She'd been living off credit and her reputation for years. She needed Damon to marry rich, not because she looked down on me personally, but because she needed a daughter-in-law who could bail out the family finances. The divorce wasn't just about social status. It was about money. Vivian had orchestrated the whole thing, convinced Damon that he could marry a wealthy doctor or pharmaceutical heiress and solve all their problems. But that plan had failed spectacularly. No wealthy woman wanted Damon once word got out about his debt and his illness. And now Vivian was depleted, having poured her remaining resources into her son's failing life. I sat in my office, holding the investigator's report, and felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about making Damon pay anymore. This was about justice on a scale I'd never imagined. I called him. "I've reviewed your case. The foundation will pay for your treatment." I heard him exhale, a sound of pure relief. "Shanice, I can't thank you enough. I promise I'm not finished," I cut him off. "There are conditions, non-negotiable conditions. You want the foundation to invest $3 million in your future? Then you're going to give us your future." Silence. Then, "What does that mean?" "It means you're going to sign a contract. A binding contract that requires you to work as a general practitioner in an underserved community for 28 years. The foundation will choose the location. You'll receive a modest salary, enough to live on, but nothing more. No luxury, no prestige. No country clubs or dinner parties. You'll serve the people who need you most, and you'll do it under my supervision." 28 years? His voice cracked. "Shanice, that's my entire career. That's my life." "Yes," I said simply. "That's the price. Your life for your life. You want to survive? You want to practice medicine? This is how it happens. Refuse, and you can take your chances finding another way to pay for treatment. But we both know there is no other way." The line went quiet for so long I thought he'd hung up. Finally, he spoke. "When do I sign?" 2 weeks later, Damon Clark sat in a conference room at the Williams Foundation headquarters. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. His hands shook slightly from the disease. Isaiah Bennett was there with a contract 40 pages long. Every clause, every requirement, every consequence spelled out in legal language Damon couldn't escape. He read it. Every page. When he finished, he looked up at me with something I'd never seen in his eyes before. Not anger, not resentment. Understanding. He finally understood what he'd done to me. What he'd thrown away. "I'll sign," he said quietly. "Your mother should be here," I said. "She helped create this situation. She should witness the consequences." Vivian Clark arrived 20 minutes later. She looked older than I remembered. Tired. Her designer clothes were the same ones I'd seen her wear a year ago. She sat down next to her son without looking at me. "Damon, don't do this," she said. "There has to be another way." "There isn't, Mother," he replied. "You know there isn't. You've been lying about money for years. I know about Father's debts. I know why you really wanted me to divorce Shanice, and now I'm paying the price for listening to you." Vivian's face went pale. She finally looked at me, and for the first time, I didn't see judgment in her eyes. I saw fear. She realized I knew everything, and there was nothing she could do about it. Damon signed the contract, every page, every clause. 28 years of service. When it was done, Isaiah collected the documents and stood. "The surgery is scheduled for next month. After recovery, you'll be assigned to your location. The foundation will provide housing and transportation. Your first assignment is a rural clinic in Dawson, Georgia. Population 3,000, no hospital within 50 miles. They need a doctor. You're it." After they left, I sat alone in the conference room. I'd won. Completely and totally won. Damon Clark would spend the rest of his career serving the people he'd once looked down on. He'd live modestly, work humbly, and remember every single day what his arrogance had cost him. But as I sat there in the silence, I realized something. Victory didn't feel the way I'd expected. It didn't feel triumphant. It felt heavy. Because I'd become someone I didn't fully recognize. Someone who could calculate revenge down to the year. Someone who could strip a man of his dreams, even if he deserved it. Kendra found me there an hour later. She sat down next to me without saying anything. Finally, I spoke. "Did I go too far?" "No," she said firmly. "You gave him exactly what he earned. But Shanice, don't let this change who you are at your core. You built something beautiful with this foundation. Real good. Don't let him poison that." She was right. The Williams Foundation had helped hundreds of people. Scholarships, medical care, community programs. And now it would help Damon Clark save his life, even if the cost was his pride. 3 months later, I visited the clinic in Dawson. Elder Ray Washington, the community leader there, showed me around. "Dr. Clark's doing good work," he said. "Stubborn at first, acted like he was too good for us. But the people here don't care about fancy degrees. They care about who shows up when they're sick. And he's showing up." I saw Damon through the clinic window. He was examining an elderly patient, his movements careful despite the lingering tremor in his hands. He looked different, simpler, real. Maybe for the first time in his life, he was actually being a doctor instead of playing one. He saw me watching. Our eyes met through the glass. He didn't smile. Neither did I. But he nodded. A small acknowledgement. This was his life now. This was his payment. Not just in money, but in years. In service. In humility. I drove back to Atlanta that evening as the sun set over Georgia red clay. My phone buzzed with messages about the Foundation's latest grant approval, a new partnership with a teaching hospital, a scholarship recipient who'd just been accepted to medical school. Good things. Real things. Things that mattered. Damon Clark had taught me a lot. He'd taught me that love without respect is worthless, that sacrifice without appreciation is exploitation, and that sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's transformation. I'd taken his betrayal and turned it into something powerful, something lasting. And he'd taken my mercy and turned it into his life sentence. 28 years. That's how long Damon would serve the community he'd once dismissed. 28 years to think about the woman he'd underestimated. 28 years to remember that karma doesn't forget. And neither do I. Thanks for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, please leave a like and subscribe. Have you experienced something similar? Share your story in the comments below.